Hello, North Central Washington, and welcome to Networked. I am your host, Jenny Rojanasatian, and I am so excited to be kicking off our 8th season with a guest who's worked closely with our nonprofit organization for several years. Joining me at the NCW Life studio is Cheri Kuhn, entrepreneur, community leader, and former NCW Tech Alliance board member. From helping businesses strengthen their leadership teams to offering tools and strategies to stay organized and on track, Cheri is passionate about helping you reach your goals and creating the business you deserve. Join us in just a few minutes as I sit down with Cheri to talk about her business, Traction Advantage, her tool, the Perfect Planner, and get some practical advice whether you're a business owner or individual looking to be a little bit more productive in the year. And welcome to Networked. I'm your host, Jenny Rojanasatian, joined today by Cheri Kuhn. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's so fun to get to be here again.
Well, you've been on both sides of the table. Cheri actually filled in for me a couple years ago when I couldn't do the filming. So
Right.
You were the host of the show.
Which is harder? Just in case anybody's wondering, she's got the harder job here.
So it's fun to have you back since we've rebranded from Guada and Guada TV and now Networked. And I think there's
Which is a cool name, by the way. I like
yeah,
that.
it really gets to the heart of kind of what we do here on this variety show is what I really say, right? We've got a little bit of everything.
So are we
from
dancing
reaching.
later?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. We'll spare the audience today my terrible dance moves. But I'm so excited to introduce you because, you know, so many people have moved to our community the last couple of years since we've had you on air. You've expanded your business quite a bit. So let's start. Cheri, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well,
Okay.
I was born. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Not quite that far back.
Yeah.
I actually, in a nutshell, began my professional career as a teacher. And, you know, I really do have the heart of a teacher. I love teaching. The politics and bureaucracy that come along with teaching can be a bit of a challenge for somebody with an entrepreneurial spirit, if you can imagine.
Yes.
So I sort of made my leap into commercial real estate where I discovered this real knack and passion that I had for business that I didn't even know I had. And that eventually led me to sit in a couple of different operational roles for local companies here, including the Wenatchee Wild way back in the day.
Oh, awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Did their marketing and their ops for a couple of years. I play hockey, so that was a natural thing for me.
Yeah.
And then eventually landed in this little small company that nobody had ever heard of at the time called Orchard Corset. In fact, that wasn't even really hardly our name when I got there, and we were about 4 people. I was, I think, employee number 5. And when I got in there, discovered that the owner and I, Jeff, had this real yin and yang of a relationship. What we later learned was this visionary integrator, which is where I come in. Yeah. And when those two things come together, we get what we call rocket fuel, and we blew that business up pretty crazy. We went to like 23 people inside of 2 years from the 5 that we were.
And for people who may not be familiar, Orchard Corset, e-commerce retailer that grew incredibly, but even really before e-commerce was lit. I mean, you were really pioneers in that space.
He was definitely a pioneer. He was one of the very first people on eBay.
Yes.
You know, when nobody knew what that was. Like he was one of those people that bought up probably 400.com. You know, like he knew that this was going to be a thing. Yeah. And was early adopter into that whole space.
Was a visionary.
So, absolutely a visionary. And visionaries are great for a little while, right? Yeah. They can charge forward, but when it really comes to executing the day-to-day of making things come to fruition, that's sometimes where if a visionary doesn't have what we call an integrator, the how type, that Simon Sinek would call it, to get the work done, that's when things kind of crumble and fall apart. So our business was growing like super crazy. It was very intoxicating. To this day, Orchard Corset is still the #1 off-the-rack corset company on the planet.
That's huge. And right here,
yes,
right here locally.
We don't manufacture them here, but we design and bring them all here, you know, and take care of everything else right here locally. And in fact, at one point, I think we quadrupled FedEx's output.
Wow.
In Wenatchee when we were at our peak. So
and had to move locations because of that growth and expansion.
Super exciting. So during that time, that's really intoxicating and fun, but terrifying and chaotic. As you can imagine, when you start to grow and you have all of these lives that you're responsible for, and we're like, oh my gosh, we got to get a handle on this business. Like we're making all the right choices, but sometimes we weren't. And we needed to find a better way to do that. So we were doing all the reading, all the books that you could get your hands on. And that is when Traction actually showed up as a Traction, shameless plug, as a what do you call it? A recommendation from Amazon. And I thought, wow, this is great. And I immediately realized the value that this was how to all the what and why that we had been reading about from the likes of Jim Collins and Patrick Lencioni. And so I bought a copy for everyone. We implemented that. And then later realized, oh, this is a thing. Like Traction is this EOS, this entrepreneurial operating system there's a whole website. There are people like me now, but not then, who actually come in and help you do this in your business. And
so going back to Traction is, this might be essentially, a management style, a way to run your business, right?
it is really a complete and holistic system with a set of proven practical tools to help you do what we call Vision Traction Healthy in your business.
And if you go onto an online retailer or walk in a store, I'm sure there's hundreds of books of how to run a business.
Yes.
And you being a lifelong learner,
yes,
probably tore through a lot of those.
I did before I got to this one.
Okay. And what was it about Traction and then implementing that at Orchard Corset that, well, we haven't fast forwarded quite yet to now your business.
Right.
But, what was it about the Traction in action that helped?
It really is the how. So all of those other books are awesome and they tell you why you need to do these things and they tell you what you need to do, but none of them tell you how. This is the roadmap to how. It brings it all together in a set of practical, simple tools that anybody, whether you have a business background or not, can actually implement in your business. This is actually written as a how-to.
So you can
do pretty well on your own. If
just
you've got
following
the time
by
and
yourself.
resources.
Follow
We
the
did.
book,
Because again, didn't know that we could get help
Yes.
to do that. Very often teams are not healthy enough, right? They're not open and honest. They're not functioning well as a team. Let's face it, leaders don't always work together well as a team and organizations. A lot of strong personalities sometimes at play. So that's what makes doing this by yourself challenging for most organizations and why they need that outside coach, that outside facilitator to come in and help them to kind of be the one to address the elephant in the room, right? Be the one to enter the danger when nobody else will in the session room. And that is in addition to helping them really understand the context behind the tools.
Yeah, it's a lot about culture and and how the team functions and works together and personalities.
It's all of it. So when we say how to do Vision Traction Healthy, vision just means we always start with the leadership team and then eventually push this out. But getting the leadership team 100% on the same page of where we're going in this business and how we plan to get there. Traction just means helping the leadership team become more accountable and disciplined so that they're executing to every aspect of that vision. And then healthy really is helping you to be more cohesive, open and honest, high functioning as a team. Then we push that down in that so that we get everybody rowing on that train.
So fast forward, you're part of the management leadership team at Orchard Corset, implementing these strategies. And then you decided to move into helping other businesses.
Yes, which I was kind of already doing anyway.
Okay.
Like, I was an evangelist for Traction before I knew that you could be an implementer.
Yeah.
And every small local business from web guide, like all of these, I'm like, you guys have to have this book and you have to do this thing.
Yeah.
And so I was already helping them read it like, well, here's how we did that. How are you doing that? And kind of ad hoc doing that in the community as much as possible because I was such a believer, because I lived it and I was seeing the benefits.
Right.
And I had done all the research going into it. And then I realized, oh, people do this for a career. Like this could actually, and how fun is this? And what a great way to tap into my teaching beginning to get to combine teaching with my love of business. Like I just couldn't have found a more coming full circle.
Yeah.
It is the best. I'm blessed every day, Jenny. I can't even tell you how excited I am to get out of bed to do what I do each and every day.
Well, your enthusiasm, I think, shows through. I am sure it's showing through to those who are watching from home today. So, you were a leader in the business community, evangelizing and sharing the secrets. I think you started a kind of informal business group, right?
I did. I still with that Traction, or the Roundtable group is actually what we have here in Wenatchee, and that is still goes to this day whether I'm available to be there or not, which to me is the success of a true leadership roundtable group.
Yeah.
Right? It's a
peers helping each other in the same space, sharing
a
business.
safe space.
Yes. Safe space, that's important.
Because spouses don't always get it. Like we need a place where we can talk to other business owners and business leaders to help us get better at what we do.
Which is really cool, by the way, and I think important. But tell us now about Traction Advantage, your company.
So my company, which really Traction Advantage, we were allowed to I decided to become what we call a professionally trained implementer, and we have different levels of like professional, certified, and now expert, depending on how many sessions you have under your belt. I'm right now what we call a certified EOS implementer. That means I've done this long enough. I have enough sessions under my belt that I've moved beyond the professional, which is what you come out of boot camp. And at the time when I did that, it was kind of a member-based thing. We had to go and meet these requirements and we agreed to these things, but we each had our own business name.
Okay.
And as long as we had gone to boot camp, we could use the word traction in our business name, never EOS.
Yeah.
Which is sad because I actually bought the URL, eosnorthwest.com. Never get to use it. I thought it sounded awesome.
Yes.
We'll never get to use it.
Yeah.
But about a year ago, because we were growing and growing, and sometimes then you get some rogue aspects, which hurts all of us that are doing what we're doing. So they moved to a franchise model, which was tough for us to do as a whole bunch of entrepreneurs.
Right.
But it's a very flexible franchise model. But at the same time, it means that we own our own franchise. So really now my business is at eosworldwide.com. They provide us emails, even for our assistants. They provide our websites. So even though my LLC is still Traction Advantage, I actually am now part of EOS Worldwide as a franchise holder.
And because you and I have worked together, I'm familiar with what EOS stands for, but can you break that down?
It's the entrepreneurial operating system. And it is that holistic system that brings the vision, the traction, the healthy, it really, what we say harmoniously integrates all the moving parts of your business.
Okay.
Right? To help you get everything that you want out of your business.
And the book was that first roadmap.
It was.
Yeah.
I like to tell people, remember the paint by numbers? Did you ever have those in your
Yes.
Yeah. So for those of us that aren't very artistic, we could still look really great. Paint by numbers for your business. I'm sure Gino would probably hit me.
Right.
Hopefully he won't watch this.
And then for those who need more support to integrate with a team, you come in. So,
or people like me. Right?
Okay.
Yes. We actually have somebody new in our area that is now a professional EOS implementer that probably many of you know.
Okay. That's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting to have more tools because I know, especially at the Tech Alliance, we want to see our businesses thrive.
Yes.
It's so important for rural communities.
Yes.
To get the training, the resources, and the growth opportunities, just as they would in obviously a metropolitan market.
Right.
And
we have struggled in the Northwest. This was a grassroots grow, and Gino's in Detroit. So I think there's still only 3 of us in all of Washington State.
Wow.
And up until October or December, sometime mid last year, I was the only woman in this whole 5-state area that was an implementer. In all of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana. Like there were no female implementers. And now we finally have a couple in Portland and one in Boise to join me.
Well, I'm sure we could do 10 segments on women in business and why that is important to have women in leadership roles. But we do have to head to a commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to dig more into your business. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And welcome back. We have been on air with Cheri Kuhn with Traction Advantage. Had a really fun first segment, Cheri. I love having you on air.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure.
Your enthusiasm is contagious. So we just talked about, EOS implementation, the leadership you provide to businesses, but you have another component of the work you do to help businesses
or individuals.
Yes. Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the Perfect Planner.
So the Perfect Planner was born out of, what they say, necessity is the mother of all invention, right? Yeah. And I had been using a planner that was okay. And then the person who created that planner stopped making a full-size planner. Mm. And I don't, anybody that's over the age of, me, has struggles to get in there, and I can't write that tiny or read that tiny, and I need to have enough space to be able to use the planner the way I need to use it. And so I went on a search to find a planner. I'm like, surely somebody creates a full-size planner that's set up in quarters, because EOS is set up, we talk about this 90-day world in EOS. We run our businesses in quarters. I had started running my life really on EOS already with great success there. Like, it was just ridiculous what a difference that made. And so I wanted a planner to help me to do that. And there was not a single full-size planner that ran nowhere.
Another thing that's very readily on the market, lots of planners.
Yeah, there's so many. Yes. But none that did this, what I thought would be an easy thing to find. Like, I really thought this can't be that hard.
Right.
Or they come in like a full size, but it's every quarter is this big. And so they want you every day as a page. And that's great for people that want to do that much writing. But again, that's not what I was after. Right. So I thought, I'll just make my own. How hard can that be, Jenny? It's really hard. In case you're wondering. Yes. Because I had no idea it was going to be so hard. And I'm not graphically designed, like I don't have any of that skill set at all. Fortunately, because I had worked for a business that outsourced a lot of, like I knew how to get get my hands on those things. Right. So I had a rudimentary idea and we put it in. By the time I realized how hard it was going to be, I felt like I already had too much skin in the game to say,
like you had to persevere. You had to persevere
and get through to the other side.
Okay.
And then it got really sticky right before I went to boot camp, which we talked about, to get my accreditation, right, to be an implementer. I realized that this had enough EOS at the beginning that I was going to have to get EOS Worldwide to give me permission to go to print. Okay. And the original version, I didn't. They're like, no, there's too much. You're going to have to. And I'm like, oh my God, like we've already got the Kickstarter going. Like we're way too far down this path. I have to get this printed like in a week. Right. So I quickly made some changes, got the blessing of EOS Worldwide. Even with the franchise agreement now, I have what's called an Article 16 that allows me to continue to print this into the future.
As a supplemental.
Right. It's not a conflict to them. It's also not geared towards implementers or, it's just geared for everybody. It's not just an EOS tool. It's a tool to help you run and manage your dreams and your life better. Right? Yeah,
let's dive into that because I think that was a great distinction. You start off, this planner is for individuals.
Right.
In any capacity.
In any capacity.
You don't have to be in business. Nope. You could just...
If you have dreams that you would like to make a reality, this planner is for you. Yeah. So yes, there's a great calendar system and things like that you can do, but it starts off with, where do you want to go way out there? Like, what's your your big dream out there? And then we just reverse engineer like we do in it. So if you want to be way out here, well, what has to happen inside the next 3 years? What does your 3-year plan look like? And if that's where you want to be in 3 years, well, what has to get done this year? And then we break that down into these quarter bite-sized chunks so that every quarter we're executing towards that 1-year plan that gets us to that 3-year. Yeah. And it's amazing when you really are focused on the things that are most important, because we tend to focus on the trivial and we ignore the vital that we need to be doing.
We're in a cycle, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone's on kind of this hamster wheel of their own life. So why is it important to sit down and try to, get off of that hamster wheel for a minute and align on goals?
And values. Yeah. So we start with that too. What are your core values? Like, we really want you to be, this is our whole person. Because if you're working against yourself in any way, you're going to struggle and it's going to feel harder and ickier to get what you want. And there's a lot of research, a pretty recent study actually out of Berkeley that says that if you actually take the trouble to write your goals down, not type them, write them down, you're actually 42% more likely to achieve them. And then if you add an accountability partner, so if you and I sit down every quarter and say, well, this is what I got done, and this, like, I don't know about you, but I hate saying I didn't get that done to my accountability partners, right? So you make sure that you get those most important things done. And that the reason it's not so much, it is the act of writing. The act of writing takes that idea and that goal and moves it from one hemisphere to the other, right? So it takes it from just that conceptual part of your brain, that creative part of your brain, and now it's moved it over to what is the left hemisphere for most people, and you've written it down. And so then what that does is now your whole brain, everywhere you're at in the world, is looking for ways and opportunities to execute on that goal that you have out there. And that is why it actually increases, not because you're not smart enough to remember what your goals are, which is what I arrogantly used to think, I have a photographic memory. I don't need, that's for other people to write down. Right, I had to do a lot of eating of crow too. A lot of humble pie came my way, right, to really understand, no, this is actually beneficial to all of us.
That accountability piece, what jumped in my mind immediately was, you think about going on into a workout regime and working with a trainer. And a lot of that helps build that accountability piece when you meet with someone. So what are some suggestions you have for people listening today to create accountability? Maybe they don't have a coach in their life or someone. How can they kind of write out that vision and then keep themselves accountable along the way?
So it's fun if you can find a friend or two to do that with you. Yeah. Not too many people. I think a small group works well. Wine and chocolate goes really great with that planning session, by the way. just as a, for us women in particular, make it fun. Okay. Especially when you're doing the early stages of the planning. I feel like especially those of us that are very pragmatic, and I include myself in that, we sometimes hinder our own dreams because we're so worried about what's realistic. And when the only part of this I don't want to be realistic is when you're setting that big long, hairy, audacious big future goal, the 10, 15 year,
Yeah.
like, what does this look like for you? Because I want you to put all options on the table for that one. And then when we're reverse engineering, because we're always more capable of more than we realize we are. Our future is much bigger than what we recognize that it can be. And so I really want you to not be very realistic about that piece. That's super important. And when you don't have a leadership team to help push that for you, that's what helps. We've got people, if you get a little accountability group, even like I think some of those pictures that are showing up on the screen there, one of those women in there is actually one of my 2 accountability partners, right?
Okay.
That we meet not only every quarter, but midway through the quarter to check in on our rocks. So in the EOS world, a rock is just this 90-day priority. And Stephen Covey invented that. Look it up. Look up rocks and Stephen Covey, and there'll be a fun video and it'll help you understand priority management. Because most of us don't prioritize the things that are most important. We go for what's easy and what's urgent. Right. But urgent is very often also not important. But it feels important because
as you're getting those flood of emails in your inbox.
The phone is ringing.
Yes.
But is that probably the most important thing you should be doing right now? 99% of the time, probably not.
So ground back into your rocks.
Yep.
And
stay focused. One of the things I do, I have a business accountability partner, and something we learned from Dan Sullivan, strategic coach, every morning or every night we send 3 wins tomorrow would be this. Monday through Friday, we text to each other. And then at the end of the day, I got 2 of my 3. I got 1 of 3. I got 3 of 3.
Wow.
5 days a week, we do that.
That's impressive, first of all. You're inspiring me to relook at how I'm setting my own quarterly goals here, Cheri, and creating that accountability. Let's, right now we've already started into the year. Where can someone get the perfect planner? And what would your, advice be about someone being hesitant? Like, we've already started this year. Like, who wants to get a calendar? Who wants to get a calendar a couple months in? Like, what would you tell them?
So 2 things. It's only 2 months, and we also have an undated version. So, So this one that I'm using actually is undated. Okay. Because my fiscal year begins February 1 for EOS. Okay. And so for me, I have to run those quarters. We have quarterly sessions that we meet. So
you're not running them January through March.
So mine is February. So my Q4 just ended at the end of January. Q1 for me started February 1. Oh, okay. So I use an undated planner. It's set up exactly like, it doesn't have, sometimes you get all the months stuck together in the quarters. And mine's not like that. It's actually set up so that it would work like the regular dated ones are. So the months actually show up about every, 4 to 5 pages of, it works out. So this is the 3rd year I've done an undated. It works out just fine.
Well, that's incredible, Cheri. I'm feeling super motivated after that.
Since 1999, NCW Tech Alliance has served as our regional hub for technology innovation. As a 501c3, their nonprofit mission is to connect people and technology resources to create a thriving community. You can network with the team and guests from today's show by visiting them at www.ncwtech.org.